Last night after the Dallas Cowboy game, I had to sit watching this trend on X. Micah Parsons to the Eagles! Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. Of course, the Cowboys had just lost at home to the Eagles 34-6 by getting outscored in the second half 20-0, by getting outscored in the third quarter 14-0, which means for the season they have been outscored in the third quarter alone 82-22. 82-22 in the third quarter alone. And of course, the Eagles fans were Eagles flying to this conclusion that Micah, who of course grew up in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, played at Penn State, is itching to escape the Dallas Cowboys and come home to roost for the Eagles. And you know what my reaction was to all of the above as I sat watching it trend on X? You can have him. Good riddance. You make him the highest paid defensive player in NFL history. You can have Micah and you can have his podcast that he seems to take even more seriously than he does football. You can have Micah and his spectacular basketball ability, which won him the MVP of the All-Star Weekend Celebrity Game. Way to go, Micah. At this rate that he's going, he'll never, ever win a defensive MVP in the NFL, as in Defensive Player of the Year, which is why, I'm going to say it one more time, he's mostly hype, a whole lot of smoke, a whole lot of mirrors. Oh, Micah's back yesterday. And the Cowboys gave up 34 at home to the Eagles. I'm going to remind you, Micah played when the Packers scored 27 in the first half of last year's home playoff game. I'm going to remind you that Micah played when the Saints scored 35 in the first half of this season's home opener at Jerry World. On the way to winning 44-19, Micah played in that game. Micah played when the Ravens had a Justin Tucker field goal from 40 yards to go up 31-6 early in the fourth quarter at home this year. Micah played. Too often I've had to file a missing Parsons report during games. So Eagles, hey, you've got everything else you need. Why don't you just go ahead and put a little icing on your Super Bowl cake by making Micah the most overpaid defensive player in NFL history? Go ahead. You got him. You want him. Take him. All of which was why, when 34-6 ended, I had my wife Ernestine shoot a video of me throwing my Dallas Cowboy hat and throwing my Brandon Aubrey jersey, my lucky number 17 that has brought nothing but bad luck to everybody except Brandon Aubrey, who's still the greatest kicker in the history of the world, but who cares? And as you might have seen, our daughter Hazel, our little Maltese, was sitting next to me on the recliner. She was okay with the hat throw, but when I yanked the jersey off over my head, Hazel said, uh-oh, he's losing it. And as you probably saw, she bailed. She jumped right off the chair, just the way so many Dallas Cowboy fans have been jumping right off the bandwagon. I mean, seriously, the Dallas Cowboys I grew up loving and living for have now been blown out in 5 straight home games. Think about that. Think about this. Through the Detroit game that we stole last year at home, we had actually won 16 straight home games. Go figure. I don't know how. I don't know why. And then the last 5 home games in a row, we've been blown out. Blown out. Can't compete. Green Bay last year. Then this season, New Orleans, then Baltimore, then Detroit. God, that was a 47-point debacle. And now Philadelphia 34-6. Do you realize what the average score of the last 5 Dallas Cowboy home games has been? Please, let this compute. Let this digest. Here's the average score. Visiting team 40, Cowboys 18. 40-18 is the average score of the last 5 Dallas Cowboy home games. The last 5, it's 40-18 opponents' average score. Do you realize my Dallas Cowboys have been outscored by 110 points over the last 5 home games? That is correct. No exaggeration, no embellishment. The 5 visiting teams have scored 201 total points, while my Cowboys have scored 91. It's 201-91 over the last 5 home games. That's why I call Jerry World Scary World. That is just so scary, so freaking scary. This is rotten to the core. This is non-competitive at home. Yet and still, as you know, I really thought yesterday would be different. As I told you on this show last Monday, I truly believed Cooper Rush would operate the offense much more smoothly and efficiently and effectively than Dak has, especially of late. I truly believed with all my heart and soul that Cooper Rush's mere presence, veteran presence, would make everyone on both sides of the ball more confident, more locked in, just believing. And believe it or not, I could not have been any more wrong about Cooper Rush yesterday. I mean, help me out. What happened to the Cooper Rush? I saw it with my own eyes. I saw him go 5-1 in his first 6 starts. What happened to that Cooper Rush who trailed only 20-17 early in the fourth quarter at Philly in the lone game that he lost? It was just 20-17 and we couldn't stop Jalen Hurts. What happened to the Cooper Rush who just a week before threw for 115 yards in the fourth quarter alone at Atlanta? Remember that? And CD dropped a touchdown pass in that game from Cooper. And Jalen Tolbert had one right on his fingertips that he should have left his feet for and caught fairly routinely for another touchdown. And still, Cooper threw for 115 in the fourth quarter alone at Atlanta. Yet, yesterday, Cooper Rush threw for a grand total of 45 yards in the first 3 quarters that he did play. And, of course, in the fourth quarter, Trey Lance was just as bad. Of course, the last time we saw Trey Lance, I'm a big fan, but he was throwing 5 interceptions in the final preseason game against the LA Chargers. 5 interceptions, and he threw another one in the fourth quarter yesterday. What am I supposed to do? So the only 2 people affiliated with the Dallas Cowboys who were happy last night had to be, number 1, Dak Prescott. He's got to be happy as a clam. And Jerry Jones, who did make Dak the highest paid player in pro football history. Jerry had to be rooting against Cooper Rush, who could have, if he'd done what I thought he was going to do, he could have made Jerry look even sillier than he did look giving Dak that deal. All he had to do was just perform the way he had in his 6 previous starts and in the fourth quarter at Atlanta. Instead, Cooper Rush and Trey Lance looked like they couldn't play Texas high school football. They each had QBRs of 16, scale of 0 to 100. 16. Cooper looked like he belonged in the classic rock band Rush, whose members are all in their 70s. I couldn't even recognize him yesterday, as if the real Cooper Rush had been abducted by aliens. Good Lord. Conclusion? I'll amend the old NFL cliche. When you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none. The Cowboys have 3 quarterbacks, and they have none. I can't believe I am saying these words to you publicly now. Of course, it all started with Cooper Rush's early fumbled pistol snap. It's a shorter snap. It hit him quickly in the hands. He wasn't ready, and he gifted Philly a 7-0 lead. Yeah. Couple of nice Cooper Rush plays, a 4th down conversion on a sneak, a 3rd down conversion on a little pop pass to CD. And all of a sudden, that gave Dallas a 1st and goal at the 6. And Micah McCarthy, obviously pressured by Jerry Jones, went blast from the past, went to Zeke, power running up the middle. And of course, he coughed up the football and fumbled it all the way through the end zone. Zeke is a shadow of himself. He's washed, Jerry. He's no longer dedicated and locked in. Obviously, been missing meetings, been late for meetings. Why he was suspended for the Atlanta game. Yet Jerry still thinks it's 2016, the last time Zeke was dominant, and he still forgives and forgets, and they put him in a key moment, and it should have been 7 points, and the Cowboys should have been up 10-7 with 3 minutes left in the first half. Nope. Zeke, fumble. You wanted him, Jerry. Blast from past. Blasted you right in the face. Yet, one play, Micah did make his one play, and he was credited with 2 sacks yesterday, so he brought a little new juice, but he did knock the ball out of Jalen Hurts' hands late in the first half. And then on 2nd and goal from the Eagles' 3, CeeDee Lamb broke wide open along the back line of the end zone. And Cooper Rush threw him a pretty good, actually very catchable pass. And I couldn't figure it out when I first saw it. CeeDee ran right by the football without seeing it. Jerry keeps the blinds open to make an indoors game seem a little more outdoors natural. And CeeDee lost the ball in the sun. Cowboys should have been up 10-7 with 2 minutes left in the first half. So after the game, Wacky Jerry gave some wacky answers about how everybody knows where the sun's going to come through this time of year, especially when you have a later afternoon start. The sunshine's going to come through. And Jerry said to the media, "What do you want me to do? Tear the damn thing down?" Meaning the entire $1.2 billion stadium. "No, Jerry, we don't want you to tear it down, but maybe you could just put up some curtains the way you always do for events like concerts. You put up curtains." Jerry, think about this. How different would Dallas 10, Philly 7 have felt at halftime yesterday? Instead, right on schedule, with a couple of minutes left in the half, the defense collapsed. Micah was out there and the defense collapsed. And it was Philly 14, Dallas 6 at half. 14-6 Philly at half. Yet and still, I'm being honest, straight from the heart. I truly believe that Cooper Rush would snap out of it and somehow make a game of it. At least I thought I'd be able to tell you today, well, at least we didn't get blown out. Nope, we got blown out. And I blew up, as did my hat and jersey throwing video. Yet. I will remind you that before the season, I picked the Philadelphia Eagles to win the Super Bowl, and I was not kidding. I picked Jalen Hurts to win MVP, and I am not counting Jalen out for MVP. The Eagles are on a roll that will continue. I remind you, if Saquon hadn't dropped that little game-ending pass late in Atlanta, just a little pop pass, dropped it in the flat. Without that drop, the Eagles would now be 8-1. Yesterday, to me, they sure look like a team that could win it all. I mean, that defense, ladies and gentlemen, is hellacious good. But after all, the Eagles went and got the 2 best corners in the draft. Are Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean ever playing like seasoned studs for Vic Fangio's defense? And speaking of Fangio, the new Philly defensive coordinator, I warned you before the season that he has been a Cowboy nemesis over the years. Remember early November 2021 when his Broncos led Dak and company, Dak played the whole game, led 30-0 early in the fourth quarter. Remember that game? To me, that game at that time was even harder to watch and to stomach than yesterday's game. I mean, I said again and again and again through the offseason that Howie Roseman's Eagles got a whole lot better, while Jerry Jones's all-in Dallas Cowboys got a little worse. And I was being nice when I said a little, because it's truly a lot worse by just standing still and doing nothing, all in my ass. So I guess what happened yesterday shouldn't have shocked me, but it just did. Because of Cooper Rush. I'm sorry, I keep trying to talk myself back into this team, and it just keeps embarrassing me. I mean, the Dallas Cowboys have been blown out 5 straight times at home. That's impossible. It's impossible. These are like the 1960 expansion Dallas Cowboys that I used to watch once upon a time. That's how bad it is. Actually, that team was more competitive than this team at home. So near the end of yesterday's game, CBS showed a fan holding up a sign that said, "Romo, go in." And Tony Romo up in the CBS booth answered pretty much the way Dandy Don Meredith once did from the Monday Night Football booth back on November 19th, 1970. You longtime fans will remember this. That night, the Cowboys were losing at home. It was in the old Cotton Bowl, 38-0 to the then St. Louis Cardinals. So when the Cowboy fans started chanting, "We want Meredith, we want Meredith," Dandy Don, the first great Cowboy quarterback, turned to Howard Cosell and said, "No way you're getting me down there." But guess what the difference was that season? That Cowboy team proceeded to win its last 5 games and made it all the way to the Super Bowl before losing at the buzzer to a field goal from the Baltimore Colts. That obviously it will not happen this year. Tom Landry ain't walking through that door. I'm sorry, I'm now walking out that door. This 3-6 season has officially turned into a nightmare. Now I have no choice. Now I'm rooting for my Dallas Cowboys to lose every remaining game, including at Carolina, and to the sorry Giants on Thanksgiving at Scary World. It has come to this.